Alright, so I do want to preface this video by saying that if you do not live within the United Kingdom, this video may not be relevant to you. That being said, let's talk about it. Alright, so BBC Three. It is of course a TV channel, or was at one point in one station in time, we'll get to that in just a second, owned by the BBC, or the British Broadcasting Corporation. It was started in 2003, and it was not really decommissioned, but its television broadcasting was discontinued in the United Kingdom in 2016, and where it just became an online-only service, which is kind of made the British broadcasting landscape, not just with the BBC, ITV and all sorts, kind of weird, because the BBC landscape went from BBC One, BBC Two, BBC Four, and then the news channels and all sorts. And then, of course, new channels from the BBC showed up, dedicated channels for each country within the United Kingdom. So, for instance, up in Scotland, up here where I'm from, we've got a channel called BBC Scotland, of course. I'm not too sure about Ireland and Wales, but we've got our own dedicated TV channel now by the BBC, which kind of replaced in some way BBC Three in some way. The ironic part is the BBC Three as well as BBC Four were commissioned as part of the launch of digital broadcasting in the United Kingdom. For many years before this, we had analogue TV, and there was only like 5 or 6 channels that we had at the time. BBC One, BBC Two, the odd ITV channel, which was spread across different national regions within the countries. And you had Channel 4 as well, that launched in 1982. And then Channel 5, which launched in 1998, I think it was, or 1997, not too sure. But not too much was going on. And then you had Sky, which you had to pay for. That was a service you had to, like, it was premium kind of thing. And of course, Sky was coming up with their own digital TV services through satellite dish and all sorts. It was an interesting time back in like early 1997 to 2005. It was quite interesting with the TV landscape. And of course, this TV channel was launched alongside another channel called BBC Knowledge, called BBC Choice. I will flip the screen over to show you what BBC Choice looked like. This is BBC Choice.
That Robbie interview is going to be great. Now on BBC Choice, live, direct, always on the button, alert and wide awake, backstage with Julia Bradbury. 5 pints of curry in a club usually does it for me, but BBC Choice discovers a couple of different ways of looking for love now in real lives. Strictly on a need-to-know basis. This is BBC Choice.
Okay, all I have to say now on BBC Choice is turn it up loud.
Patrick Kilty's almost live now. Well, not as almost live as he was on BBC One last Friday. This is BBC Choice, after all.
Alright, so that was some aspect of what BBC Choice looked at back in the day. Of course, the idents and the branding did evolve over time, so that was some of the idents from that channel. Eventually, the channel was launched. 3 is a magic number. Yes, it is. BBC Three, of course. I'm just going to try and see if I can get to a clip. This clip comes from, I think it's the Teledesign, which is a kind of like a YouTube channel that dedicates a lot of its time to archiving a lot of old TV idents and branding and such. Take a look at this.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is. That's a magic number.
Don't forget, the next all-new premiering episode of Kingdom Hospital is tonight at 10:40 on BBC Three. Now, though, comedy coupling style.
Alright, so that was BBC Choice, BBC Three even, and that actually replaced BBC Choice. And of course, later on, BBC Four replaced BBC Knowledge. So why is this relevant then? And why do I say this is relevant to UK users only? If you're American, you might feel that you might consider this interesting to watch. Which, fair enough, I find it quite interesting to watch, that's why I'm talking about it, as I say. But, ironically, a BBC News article is talking about the potential relaunch of the BBC Three or the BBC Three channel even. BBC Three could return as an on-air channel. And this is 2 hours ago as well. As I'm recording this, 2 hours ago, I just refreshed the page as well. Basically just says BBC Three is going to relaunch as its own channel. Now, maybe like last year, the year before, 2018 or 2019, the BBC was actually experimenting with this channel. They were doing a kind of arc on BBC One where they would actually be broadcasting a lot of BBC Three content and having BBC Three as its own little arc on the channel. Similar to what they did back in the day with CBBC, which was the children's BBC channel. Back in the day, it wasn't its own channel. It was once an arc, or even just a segment within one of the dedicated base BBC channels, BBC One or Two, and eventually became its own TV channel. So that's what they were doing last year and the year before. They were running that kind of experiment where they would broadcast some BBC Three content on BBC One or Two, I think it was. So apparently what's happening is it's coming back as its own dedicated channel. So we'll just read on. So the BBC is hoping to bring back BBC Three as a regular TV channel 4 years after it was taken off the air and moved online. The youth channel, which commissioned hits like National Normal People and Fleabag, will also have its budget doubled. Wow. It left linear TV in 2016 to save £30 million because of the corporation, and because the corporation said young people were watching more shows online. Now, I think, to be quite honest, right here, right now, I was in college when I discovered this whole thing was going on, and I actually had like 2 or 3 of my classmates at the time talking about how they hated this idea. Especially now when you have to log into a lot of these catch-up TV services, especially like ITV services, Channel 4 on Demand, I think it is, and BBC iPlayer, which is the BBC's catch-up service. You have to log into these services now, which is kind of awkward. Having to keep in mind all these different logins in your brain kind of thing, and then you have to add new ones because, for whatever reason, these services want that as well. Now, the thing is interesting as well, for those of you who probably don't know or probably don't know already, is the way the BBC is funded is from the TV licence fee. So that concern that the BBC was trying to save £30 million pounds was apparently to help save money for the licence fee payers. But what the BBC didn't realise is that their audience wanted to keep that TV channel on the air, despite the fact that BBC Three was actually a less kind of a viewed channel, basically. I actually read this article the other day there. UK. Let's go back to maybe 2014. Events, not that sort of. Alright. Let me just go back actually. The most popular TV channels in the UK. The first one is BBC One, topped with Channel 4 and ITV, and then Netflix, which isn't a TV channel. BBC Two, and then I'm pretty sure at one point in time BBC Three. It's on here. It was quite far down when it comes to its ratio kind of thing. But then compare that to all those above. So it's a decent market share, but it's a lot less than the other BBC channels. So that was one of the reasons why BBC was wanting to keep an eye on their budgets, and of course because the BBC is technically funded through a tax or the licence fee kind of thing, we have to pay into it. If you want to own like a TV that serves live TV broadcasts, you have to pay this TV license to get BBC content, as well as unlock other channels. So the BBC do have a lot of responsibilities with their money kind of thing, because it's not a very good thing to anger the TV license payers, because we, at the same time, those people have, especially me as well, and we have those voices out there that we need to, the BBC need to listen to us, Of course, the fact with Boris Johnson's government trying to chase up the TV license fee and maybe get it banned, or maybe discontinue it as a change in the way the BBC's getting its funded, it'll probably happen within the next 10 years at least, where they'll drop the license fee. Maybe even earlier, I'm not too sure. So that may for those of you who don't really like the license fee, that may please some of you who are watching this. But we'll continue with the article. The BBC says that it's considering the case for returning the channel to linear television. So maybe that experiment I was talking about earlier on, where they were broadcasting content from the channel via BBC One, may have been a good indicator for them that they should probably bring it back in some form. A BBC spokesperson said, we'd be wrong not to bring back a service that is doing better than anyone could have ever conceived. The turnaround will be not formally announced as part of the BBC's annual plan on Wednesday, but there was no news about the fate of BBC 4, which has been rumoured to be for the axe. Which would be quite kind of sad, because BBC 4 is kind of like the knowledge channel kind of thing. You've got quite a lot of documentaries and such on there. I'd be quite sad to see that channel go. I actually think all of the BBC channels should be on there kind of thing, because I love them. Sod BBC iPlayer, because their video player on that site is god awful. Even on the apps, especially for my Xbox, for instance, when I'm playing it on the Xbox or Now TV box, we got one of those little boxes that you use for bringing your TV and making it more like one of those fancy digital ones with a built-in computer kind of thing. Whatever you call them, my brain's not working. Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is the BBC iPlayer video player is god awful. So if BBC 3 can come back as its own channel, awesome. And as I say, I was talking about before, but me being back in college, 3 or 4 of my fellow classmates thought it was a horrible decision, because they loved the content on that channel and they didn't want to have to go and use it online. So there's an irony there. A lot of people talk about our generation, maybe even generations younger than we are, talking about how we don't really care for television anymore. We'd rather just watch stuff like YouTube and Netflix all the time. That is broadly termed. Some young people do actually like live broadcast TV. I do. I wouldn't like to say I'm a part of the small ratio kind of thing, but I'm definitely a part of a group of people who still prefer to watch live TV alongside Netflix. I'm not subscribed to it, I don't really care for it, and YouTube, which I'm making content for right now, as you can probably see. But I like BBC content. I like BBC in general when it comes to their stuff. My logo for It's Ricky's channel, which is another channel that I own basically, it derives its logo from the BBC's logo, basically, to be transparent there. But a BBC spokesperson said, we're wrong not to conceive. The turnaround will be formally announced as part of BBC's annual plan on Wednesday, but there's no news about the fate of BBC 4, blah blah blah. The corporation warned that putting BBC 3 back on TV will mean reductions in other areas, especially as the BBC's income has been reduced by 125 million during the coronavirus outbreak. But it says those decisions won't be made until autumn, where there's a clearer picture on the BBC's finances. However, the BBC did say it had no plans to close BBC 4 at the moment. The bigger impact. BBC 3 launched in 2003 and made its name and hits with Little Britain and Gavin and Stacey. So that's where Little Britain came from. That's quite interesting. I thought it was broadcast on BBC 2. In recent years, it's also been behind comedy and drama successes like This Country, which I've seen clips of. I'm not really interested in that programme, to be fair. People just do nothing. My Left Nut. And Bath of Winning Killed by My Debt. It's made the reality shows RuPaul's Drag Race UK and Glow Up, as well as hard-hitting documentaries like Stacey Dooley's Investigations and Jessie Nelson's Odd One Out. Normal People, an adaptation of a Sally Rooney novel, recently propelled BBC 3 to its biggest ever week on iPlayer, with 21.8 million requests for the channel's programmes. One thing I have to say about the BBC websites as well, iPlayer and the news website as well, when all of these news websites and the such, they've got all their advertisements and all sorts, and that's how they make their funding kind of thing. When it comes to BBC news sources, they seem to be the most high quality stuff I can ever find. They also lack advertisements, which are really helpful when it comes to reading those kind of websites, and you don't have to worry about subscribing to them. They're not clickbaity. A lot of the articles, at least the ones I see, basically, in my own opinion. But in my own opinion, they're not clickbaity, and they're not pushy with what they're trying to put across, kind of thing, as compared to other sites that do journalism and news stuff. God's sake. But yeah, that being said, it's no advertisements, you have to worry about that kind of thing. When it moved online in 2016, the BBC Trust, which was an independent kind of like a watchdog organisation for the BBC, it ran separately from the BBC, but it was called the BBC Trust kind of thing. And it was funded differently as well. Independent shows younger audiences are watching more online and watching less linear TV, but BBC Three reached 8% of British 16 to 34 euro per week in 2018-19, then from 22% in 2015-16. The BBC now says its research shows there is a potential large linear audience for the channel's programmes, which it says are reaching both the young people and the wider audience in big numbers. The news comes 2 months after Director General Tony Hall told MPs, my tongue is twisting really badly, I do apologise for that, the board was looking to divert more resources to the BBC Three to build the kind of creative content they're delivering. But with the corporation needing to make savings, there has been speculation that BBC Four may be one of the casualties. A petition calling for the channel to be saved has attracted more than 58,000 signatures. And yeah, that is that. BBC Three may be returning to our screens. And as I say, as I was kind of blithering on in kind of like rambly fashion kind of thing, is that, yeah, a lot of audiences do like BBC Three. As I say before, I had friends, well I say friends, like classmates in college who said the same thing. They loved the channel and they were sad at the time when it was going to be moving online, because they actually prefer watching linear TV. But the thing is, when it comes to our generation kind of thing, the thing is you can't just put us all into one little box kind of thing. For instance, I am 22 years old at the time of this recording. I like linear TV to some extent. I watch YouTube more often than TV, but I still watch TV. I like a lot of the content that comes on TV. I'd rather watch that and watch or catch up TV. There's a thing about live TV that I like more than watching something on BBC iPlayer, for instance. Which is weird because I like watching stuff on YouTube, whether it be live streams or just average videos kind of thing. But I'm kind of chuffed. I'm kind of sad that the BBC 4 channel may be on the chopping block, because, as I say, I think a lot of their stuff is quite interesting. We've got a lot of documentaries and such. And I'm quite sad that's going to be leaving as well. That's a lot of knowledgeable stuff as well. It's quite intriguing. So I don't know why they would put BBC 4 on the chopping block instead. But what they may do, what they've been doing for BBC 3, is they may turn BBC 4 into an arc, because they've been doing that on BBC 2, I think. But they've been broadcasting a lot of BBC 4 content on BBC 2. I could be wrong there, I could be making that up, but I think that's what's been happening, at least recently, as far back in 2019. But with that being said, I don't really hold you back any further. That being said, that was that for today. Let me know what you think about this down below in the comment section down here, because I'd be quite interested to hear what you have to say about this. Especially if you're British and you prefer, you like BBC. Maybe you don't like the BBC, maybe you don't like it, maybe you're one of those people that, you know, let's kill off the TV license kind of thing. I'm not trying to mock anyone for that kind of thing. I personally don't care less. If the BBC make good content, I'm going to support the TV license in some way, shape or form. I do have my own opinions on the TV license though. I'll probably hold that for another video. That being said, I am Ricky. Thanks for watching Outro Newsstand. If you enjoyed this, if you didn't enjoy this, whatever have you, let me know down below in the comment section. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It would support me immensely. I'd be very happy if you join the channel. That being said, if you do, welcome to the channel, and if you've already subscribed, thank you. Love you all. That being said, I'll talk to you next time. Take care, stay safe, and until next time, bye.